I wish I had learned this truth many years ago. Be thankful for the days, good and bad.
All right, welcome to Warrior vs. Zombie, episode 25 with Nancy Daley, an amazing warrior, and I'm really excited to introduce her to you in a minute here. But first, let me talk to you about Warrior vs. Zombie if you've just joined us for the first time. As warriors, success is a journey, it's not a destination. As warriors, we all have a history of ups and downs, wins and losses that are all part of making us who we are up to this point and provide a foundation for our path forward. We all battle our inner zombie as well as those zombies in our world. In each episode, I interview warriors who are aspiring leaders from all walks of life. Entrepreneurs, artists, health practitioners, business owners, really any inspired leader that has a story to tell. These warriors, they all have a cause, they have unique value, and really a vision that goes generations into the future, and Nancy today is no exception. Nancy Daley is an amazing warrior. She's an author, a musician, a composer, a teacher, and a counselor. She was born in Skokie, Illinois, and began her 60-year journey as a creative warrior at the age of 9. After enduring early challenges, she started singing in college, wrote a musical revue, and toured with the Bells of Indiana. After a stint teaching high school, she jumped back into her real passion of writing with a musical revue called Daddy Still Thinks I'm a Virgin. Interesting. After that, she met her husband and for 14 years performed and lived with her family on Broadway. She wrote the young adult book, Fatty McPherson, which was then made into a musical. She's written and acted in other musicals like Hot Mamas and Wonderful. Interesting titles, and she can maybe tell us a little more about that. She's played the piano and sung all over the country in places like the Waldorf Astoria and the Mirage in Las Vegas, where she actually had a room created just for her to perform. That's kind of impressive. At the age of 50, she became a counselor. I didn't think you were that old anyway, but we'll talk about that in a minute. She became a counselor, and at the age of 60, she's back running, which she started when she was a kid. And today she stars in musical murder mysteries all over Los Angeles, and finally is an award-winning counselor in Los Angeles area, and the author of a book, Live in Your Happy Place. So, wow, what an impressive journey there that we've gone through, and I'm looking forward to hearing a little bit more about that, Nancy. But, wow. So how are you doing today in all this craziness?
Well, it certainly is crazy, but I'm doing great because I'm sort of living what I wrote. I try and live in my happy place despite all the craziness going on in the world. And let's face it, I'm 69 years old and I have never lived in times like this where you turn on the news and everything is crazier the next day. Like, I can't believe things that are happening. But despite all that, David, I am happy.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, I can tell that. I can hear it in your voice. I can see it in your face. And for sure, that's when people talk to me, they say, how's it going? And I say, always good. I'm always good. And they say, how can you always be good? And I said, because that's not a statement of what's going on around me, nor is it a statement of anything. It's really about a mindset. It's about there's always something good, and I'm always going to focus on that. So that's a beautiful thing. So tell me, you're in what part of the country?
I'm in Shadow Hills, California, which is near 15 minutes north of Burbank, California. Beautiful downtown Burbank. And Shadow Hills is a beautiful area that has horses and trails. And, as I'm making breakfast, I look out my window and I see 3 horses gallivanting like across the way. So it's sort of rural, but it's literally 20 minutes from any place you need to go in LA, like Hollywood or whatever.
Wow. And these days, it's probably a little faster than it is when things are really busy, right? Then I've been to LA. I love California, being in Texas. it's interesting because we have a mass exodus of California people to Texas, and in particular Dallas, with a lot of the companies that are moving from California, relocating out of California for various reasons. And so I'm getting to meet people in person, face to face, from California all the time. But it's one of those places in the country that I always love visiting. I've never lived there, but yeah, I'm always curious, especially in these times, because a lot of times our perception of what's going on, both in you in Texas and me and people in California, is kind of filtered through the media of whatever sort you choose to consume. And I think it's really, I always love talking to real warriors, really on the ground, really living life and doing things and kind of hearing how it's going there. So have you had any major issues, challenges that you're working through at this point in time? How's that working out?
Well, with COVID and everything, because of our age, my husband is 65, I'm 69. Our son is 35. We've got a grandson. My daughter-in-law is 39. And we're socially distancing because we don't want to get this thing. So we're doing everything virtually except for seeing our family. So we see them 3 times a week. And as far as counseling, I don't like counseling over Zoom. So I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not singing in restaurants because of the whole COVID situation. I'm not doing the murder musical mysteries because of that. So what I'm doing is singing virtually. My husband and I do Facebook Live concerts every Thursday and Saturday at 7 p.m. Pacific time. And we're having a ball doing that. And we're getting a lot of followers, and people are tipping us virtually through PayPal, which is nice. They're requesting songs. So, and I'm giving virtual voice lessons on Zoom and FaceTime. And I'm also giving piano lessons, believe it or not, on FaceTime.
Wow.
And yeah, which is great. So we're actually still working. And the third thing we're doing is we're writing a new musical called Moonbeams, which is about a couple, an older couple who's a songwriting team, which my husband and I are, in isolation. But instead of COVID, there's a blizzard going on, and they're in a cabin in Colorado. So we're writing this original musical, and as soon as we can leave the house safely, we will be performing this in person. So we do a lot of original songs on our virtual concerts too.
Well, I love hearing warriors, how, especially during this time, how we're all dealing with things. And obviously, whether you're, running a business, whether you're an artist, a performer, you have to make those kinds of decisions, and you have to really determine that the things that we're encountering right now are not in the way, they're just on the way. Really, COVID, the pandemic, whatever you're talking about right now, the thing that I really am fascinated by all the warriors is they're just a part of the story. They become part of the story, and the warriors look around, try to figure out how to go around it, go over it, go through it, and get to the other side. And that's kind of a trait that is consistent with all the warriors, every one that I've ever encountered on my own journey. And I think we're all kind of the same way. That's fascinating that, you're able to do that. Interestingly enough, by the way, I got to make sure that you get a chance to hook up with Ricky Jean Wright, who is also in Be Connected, which we'll talk a little bit about that in a little bit. But he's a singer-songwriter, and he's been doing exactly the same thing. His virtual concerts with he and his partner are on Wednesdays. He does every Wednesday at 8:00, and he does a little mini concert and takes requests and that thing. So there's some similarities there, and both of you being artists and writers and those kinds of things, I think he would be definitely somebody that definitely want to try and get you connected with. So, and he's also been a guest on this podcast. So you ought to listen to a little of his story. He's an Americana singer-songwriter. So different genre than a lot of the things that I know with Broadway and stuff that you've been doing. But it's always fascinating, I think, to hear things from different people. Well, let's do this. I think this has been a great check-in. And we've gotten a little bit of where you are today, and I think we'll probably expand upon that in the third segment when we talk about where you are. But I want to come back after this quick break, and we hear a little Ricky Jean Wright, and hear about your story, kind of how you got from, or where you started to where you are today. So let's take a quick break, and we'll come back with Nancy Daley and Warrior versus Zombie.
But the miles become the teacher while the student learns real slow, traveling blind most of the time. Wherever you go, it's not the getting there, it's the journey every day. It's not.
All right, we've just had a great check-in segment with our guest warrior, Nancy Daley. And I need to take just a minute to thank our sponsor, Be Connected, where entrepreneurs connect, and invite our warriors to get in on the ground floor of the premier hub for successful warriors. Be Connected empowers warriors from all walks of life, entrepreneurs, home-based business owners, and small business owners, CEOs, founders, literally any entrepreneur that's looking to connect. So if you want to find more about that, go to beconnected.com, and that's BEEKONNECTED.com, and go ahead and enter the special code MyVisionWarrior. Now, let's get back to Nancy. And Nancy, I really, really, really enjoyed our check-in. And I'd now like to hear a little bit of your story. You've got such an incredible, I know I blew through it real quick in the introduction and covered a lot of stuff. But tell us, how did you get from where you started, I guess at 9 and to today? Tell me a little bit about your story.
From 9 to 69. Okay. So at 9, I actually was a real happy kid, and 2 very wonderful parents, 2 brothers. I mean, it wasn't perfect, believe me. We would fight like brothers and sisters do. My parents were very wonderful Jewish parents, and they were a little overprotective sometimes. My mother nudged sometimes, eat. So, but at the age of 9, I decided, David, that I wanted to sing, I wanted to teach, I wanted to write, and I wanted to help people. It was very interesting. I just decided I want to do those things. So I wrote a little book when I was 9. I was singing all the time. I would be helping people. And I started my own religion in the backyard. I didn't want to go to temple anymore at the age of 11. And I said, I don't buy this, but I do believe we're spiritual. So I'm starting my own religion. They said, fine. But fast forward now to when I was 12, 13 in middle school. I was my height, about 5'6", and I weighed 85 pounds. I was like, I looked anorexic, but I wasn't. I did eat, but you could see the veins in my face. My hands were like, my arms were like sticks. And I started getting bullied for being too skinny. And I remember Wendy O'Martin challenged me to a fight after school, and I was crying, and I said to my mom, I people hate me, I'm ugly. And she said, no, you're not, you're beautiful. And I said, Mom, I'm not. Anyway, so when I just overcame that by just ignoring the bullies and just writing and singing and being in my own little world. That's what helped me. But when I was 16, my mom said, listen, I'm going to help you gain weight. So we're just going to put you on a diet to gain weight. I said, all right, I don't like food that much, but that's fine. She would make me milkshakes for breakfast. I would have eggs and bacon and pancakes and onion rings but by the time, this is when the summer before I entered sophomore year in high school, I went from 85 pounds to like 115. So I gained 25 pounds. I went to school and nobody recognized me. And all of a sudden I was prettier. I felt popular. So overcame that with the help of my mother. So in college, it's so interesting. I'm realizing that my freshman year in college, I was also bullied by a group of people at Indiana University who were, I realize now, jealous. And I would be singing all the time because then later in high school, I was in the plays and everything. So all of a sudden, a group of people thought, look at this know-it-all who thinks she's so great, who thinks she's such a great singer. I would be singing in my dorm, doing warm-ups, and I would go, la. All of a sudden, I'd hear 5 people go, la, and start laughing, mimicking me. So I said, oh my God, it's happening again. And the way I overcame that, I just said, what the heck? I'm just going to do my thing. And then sophomore year, I auditioned for the Bells of Indiana, got in that. It was a singing group. And these people were still laughing at me, but I didn't care because at that point, I was touring with this group and going all over the place and singing. And then I wrote my own little musical revue for something called I You Sing. And I thought to myself, wow, I'm a writer too. And of course, these people still made fun of me and said, oh, she's a writer now. She's such a show off. And I thought, forget about these people. And okay, so that was in college. I'm trying to tell you things that weren't so good and how I overcame them. Otherwise, this is going to sound like a Disney movie, which it really isn't. I met somebody my senior year in college, a really nice guy, and we got married, but it didn't work out. It just didn't work out. We got divorced, and I started thinking less of myself because I thought, I have a failed marriage. I'm just not a nice person. Because to be honest with you, I cheated on him. This was the era of open marriages and all that. And I said, maybe we should have an open marriage. Let me tell you something. That's a recipe for disaster. Because we both started dating other people and we were married. And one day we just looked at each other and said, this is ridiculous. We shouldn't have an open marriage. And so we got a divorce. Okay, so fast forward now to age 30. I was teaching for a while, and then I thought, you know what? What I really want to do is sing. And as a matter of fact, I was teaching in an all-girl Catholic school. I taught English. And a Jewish teacher in an all-girl Catholic school is pretty funny. I did not teach religion. I did teach English. And one day I was teaching them poetry, and I was sitting on the floor with a guitar singing Both Sides Now by Joni Mitchell. And they were like looking at me like, wow. And this one girl, I'll never forget this, Colleen said, Nancy, I had them call me Nancy, which the head nun was mortified that these students were calling me by my first name. But she said, Nancy, you're a great teacher, but you should be singing professionally. You shouldn't be teaching us. And I said, really? And all of a sudden, the whole class said, you should be singing professionally. You're going to be famous. You should do that. And I said, wow. So I stopped teaching after 2 years and went into singing professionally. And I was in a band called Natural Feeling. And then I always played piano, but I said, you know what? Maybe I should really take some jazz piano lessons, and really learn how to play piano to accompany myself. So this was in Chicago, Illinois, and I saw this teacher, Ellen Swain, who changed my life. And I said, so I want to play piano and sing and accompany myself. Do you think that's a good idea? He looked at me and he said the words that changed my life. He said, you know what? You're very pretty. You have a beautiful voice. You already play pretty well. If you do this for a living, you will never be out of work, because there is a market for women who look good, who play the piano and sing. And if you write your own songs, that's a bonus. I predict you will never be out of work. And I was 28 years old at this point. And I said, okay, thank you, Ellen Swain. And fast forward, like now, I'm 69. And I'll tell you something, David, I have never been out of work. There is a market for what I do. So I called this teacher 30 years later when I was like 56 or something. And I said, Ellen Swain, this is Nancy. My name now is Nancy Daley. And you told me I would never be out of work if I did this. And I want to thank you. And you changed my life. He said, well, thank you for telling me that, but I really don't remember who you are. Who are you? And I said, it doesn't matter, because you changed my life anyway. So that was something I overcame. All right. Now, something really horrible happened to me when I was, 25, which is pretty horrible, but I was singing in a really wonderful club, and I met a man who pretended he was the spitting image of somebody famous. I won't even tell you who it was, but he told me that I was fantastic. He could help me make my career go all the way to the top. But the way I had to do this was by sleeping with him. And I said, no, absolutely not. I don't believe that. I can't believe you're saying this to me. That's not right. He said, Nancy, you are so naive. This is the way the world is. and he started naming celebrities, women who had slept with people who were famous in Hollywood. Later, the Me Too movement came out, and I thought, oh my God. But this was when I was 26, so here's what happened. I said, no, I don't want to see you anymore. And he said, I understand you're making a big mistake. He walked me to my car, David, and then he said, let me talk to you about some things. Went in my car, he locked the doors, and he raped me. And it was horrible. I didn't think I would ever get over this experience. It was the worst thing maybe that ever happened to me. And I felt violated and I felt guilty. Like maybe I brought this on, because later he said to me, you were teasing me the whole time. And I said, no, I wasn't. And after it all ended, he left the car and I just sat there crying, went home and took a bath for 2 hours because I couldn't get clean enough. And I thought, oh my God. Well, here's the really interesting part of the story. He actually was a famous, I thought, newscaster. I called the next day, the news station, asked to talk to him because I was going to report him and talk to him about what he did to me. I wanted him to make it up to me. And I'll tell you, David, he got on the phone and I said, this is Nancy. And he said, who? I don't know you. I said, what? You've been seeing me and you raped me last night. He said, oh my God. Oh my God. Nancy, this man has been going all over Chicago pretending he's me because he is my double. But if you turn on the news now, you'll see there are some differences and you can see I don't sound like him. And he didn't. And I said, oh my God. He said, well, let's get this guy. Can I come over right now with the whole news team and we're going to do a story on this? And I said, no, I don't want to be in the news. I don't want to do this. I really can't even talk about this anymore. I feel so guilty. And this guy said, that's how he wants you to feel. And I said, I'm sorry, I cannot do it. So hung up, I don't know if this guy was ever caught, but here's the great thing about it. I mean, it was horrible for 2 years after that. I didn't want to have anything to do with men, with relationships. I thought all men were assholes. Excuse my language. Maybe you can edit that out. But I wrote a show, Daddy Still Thinks I'm a Virgin, and I wrote all these songs about it, like You Can't Trust Men, all these things. Daddy Still Thinks I'm a Virgin, and I just gave up on men. But then I met my husband when I was age 30, and we started writing together. He was on Broadway for 14 years. We started writing, and when my mother got Alzheimer's, that was another horrible thing in my life, but she overcame it with love and everything. But I said to my husband, let's write about her battle with Alzheimer's, which was horrible. But then at the end, she was surrounded by all of us, and we helped her leave her body, like transition to the next thing. And I said, let's write about it. So we did. And David, not only did we write about my mother's Alzheimer's, We wrote this whole story of my life and my relationship with her. And the rape, this whole story is in this musical. And there's a rape song, and it's called I'm So Dirty. That is, people who heard it when we did a staged reading of this were weeping and saying, I've never heard a song like that. Thank you for that. So that's a way I feel I have become a warrior, because the zombie was the guy in the rape. But you don't have to let it ruin your life at all, because by writing about it, singing about it, telling other people about it, I got a lot of clients who said, would you be my counselor because this happened to me? So not only am I helping them through counseling them and listening to them, I helped them through them hearing the song. I help people whose parents had Alzheimer's, and it's prevalent now. I mean, everybody I talk to, I'm saying, I think 75% of my friends, their parents have had Alzheimer's or dementia. So that's the way I think I've overcome all this. And now today, fast forward to my story now, 69 years old, I'm counseling people, helping them with all the junk that they've gone
Well, let's
through.
do this. Let's do this because we are to today. And what I want to do is number one, let me just say a couple things. First of all, Nancy, that was incredible. And thank you for sharing, because I'm sure that people listening, I know it wasn't easy to share. And I can tell even right now that was something that was not something that I asked you to share. And I can tell. I mean, I know it made, it got to me, and I'm sure that when the warriors that have had similar experiences, it'll bless them, it'll serve them. And so I really, number one, want to thank you for that. I would like to take a quick break, and I want to talk about where you are today. And one of the things I want to do a little interesting here, if you're okay with it, because one of the things you mentioned was doing kind of concerts and doing some of the stuff that you're doing right now. And think about it when after we take the break. But if you want to sing, maybe sing for us, share a little bit with us at some point in this about when you're doing what you're doing. But I want to talk about in the next segment where you are today, how some of these things in your story have kind of led you to today, why you're continuing to do it, the value you're providing. I'm already hearing some of those things. And then if anything were possible, kind of where would it go from here? So with that, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with Nancy Daley, and we'll hear about her story and Warrior versus Zombie.
It's not a race to see how many people know your name. One day you realize time was worth more than the gold. It's not the getting there. When you get there, you'll know. Funny how wisdom and youth.
All right, so we're back with the third segment with Nancy Daley. And Nancy, I again have to tell you, I'm so moved by your discussion there, and I really again thank you for sharing that with the audience. But you kind of teased us in the first segment about what you're dealing with today and some of the things you're doing. So that's where we are. Now we're to today. You kind of got the story and you got us here to today. So I want to kind of understand why you're doing what you're doing today and the value that you continue to see yourself provide. And then if anything were possible, kind of where would we go from here? And then maybe I'll even ask you one more thing when you get done telling me that.
All right. Sounds great. You're a terrific host, by the way, David.
Thank you. I always need encouragement, but thank you. It's beautiful.
So where I am today, especially before the pandemic hit, let's say. I was literally living in my happy place and still am. Like, I have an ideal day, which includes getting up early, running, exercising. We have a pool. I would jump in the pool and swim 25 lengths. I would then come inside and make a delicious breakfast and a protein drink. And then I'd start my day by seeing clients and helping them. I would, at one point, go for a walk with my husband. I would, at night, be singing, usually. There's a restaurant near our house called Villa Terrazza, which has the most amazing Italian food. And I sing. It's 3 minutes from our house. I could literally run there if I and then start singing. And there was another place, the Ocean View Grill, that I also sang at. And I would also, throughout the week, be doing musical murder mysteries where I play the piano and sing. And we put on these really funny shows where the audience has to figure out who was the killer. And those are really fun. And so I love my life, even now with the pandemic, because even though I can't counsel people in person, what I find myself doing is talking to people on Zoom, on the phone, and somebody will call me crying, I hate this pandemic. I'm going stir crazy. What should I do? And we just talk and I help them through it. And I say, go for a walk. Go look at things. Do something that makes you happy. So that's what I'm doing, and still singing virtually, Facebook Lives, Thursday and Saturday nights, and writing and creating a show with my husband. So what I feel I'm doing is helping people through counseling, through my music, and through my books. I wrote a book called Live in Your Happy Place, which is basically just doing at least 5 things you love to do every day. Like, not just like to do, but love to do. So I end up doing 23 things every day that I love to do. A great cup of coffee, running, swimming, counseling, helping somebody, talking to a friend, dancing, taking a nap. Oh my God, do I love to take naps. Taking a nap with my cats and my husband at the same time, writing a song, playing the piano, singing. So, yeah, I'm just trying to live fully. And part of this is helping people. And actually, I also joined Be Connected too. And the reason I did that is because here we are stuck in a pandemic, and Tracy Repchuk is a really good friend of mine. And 7 months ago told me about this and said, you should check out this company. It connects people to other people. And I said, sure. And she said, and it uses a dating algorithm and an search engine generator. I said, that's crazy. I mean, that's really innovative. So I said, but Tracy, I'm 69 years old and I'm not a computer whiz. I'm like a dinosaur. I mean, I forget my password every other day and I have to write it down. I don't know how to download things. My husband has to help me. Actually, he's just as bad as I am. So we call our son and say, help us. So, but anyway, she said, no, Nancy, it's just about sharing your enthusiasm about this company with other people. And you could probably be a team leader. I said, me? She said, sure. So now I have like 135 people on my team. And I love working with Be Connected. David, that's how I found you. So I believe in this company. I've talked to so many people, and I listened to your podcast with Tracy, and I said, I think I'd be good at this too. So that's what I told you that, and you said, sure, let's meet, and here we are.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. It really is. So there's a few things that you said, really, that we're just getting to know each other a little bit. But you talk about your ideal day, which one of the things that I teach is that we all, when we talk about if anything were possible, it's not in the song, it's not the getting there, it's the journey. And the thing is, we all should be striving to live our ideal day wherever we're at on our journey. And that is not the same day. It's just that there are things that make that day up, which you articulated very well. And I would have thought you were one of my mentees or one of my students. So I'm just blown away by that. But that's another beauty of, you mentioned the Be Connected algorithm. That's one of the things I'm sure that even connected us or made us pop up on each other's list is because the things that we are both aligned with are right there. So, and it's almost magical sometimes when I connect with people now using the connection generator, because it's like, even before that, you've ever sat down with somebody, run into them at a party or at a bar or something like that, or church or wherever you go. And all of a sudden you start talking and you just say, everything just clicks. You just, everything is perfect. The alignment's there. It's like you've known them all your life. And I've had that experience multiple times already. And it can't be anything other than the algorithm. It's not that I'm that great. It's just that, we kind of align with each other. So that's the first thing. The other interesting thing is you talked about singing at an Italian restaurant that was just like 3 minutes away. I actually live on top of Porta di Roma, which is an amazing Italian restaurant, and one of my clients that I'm trying to keep in business through this pandemic. So another thing is that we have in common is that on Monday nights, we do meet in person. It's not a huge group, and we are spaced, but Ricky Jean Wright comes in. We call it Cheers to Porta di Roma, and it's just a way that we get, and he shares some music, and we support the restaurant and those kinds of things. So again, there's a lot of synergy there, and then obviously we talked about the Be Connected. One of the things I was hoping to do, and I know this is maybe a little weird, and I'm not sure how the quality is going to come across on the podcast, and I've never done it before on the podcast, so I'm always willing to try something. Is there a song or something you could share? I know you're in your kind of in your studio or close to some of your tools. Is there a song that you wrote or something you might share with the audience here for a minute or so, or give us a sample, if you will? Is that a reasonable thing to ask?
Oh, it's a great thing to ask. It's a great thing to ask. I think it would be good. I don't think the sound quality is going to be as good as our Facebook Lives, but what I'll do is I'll put my microphone closer and I'll sing a song from actually Wonderful, which is the musical my husband and I wrote about my mom and me and her battle with Alzheimer's and our relationship. And the song I would love to sing, if it's okay, is Wonderful, where my mother, and this actually happened, David, she was on her deathbed with everybody gathered around her. And she said, I'm ready now. I'm ready now to go. And literally, we just held her hand, and she literally just left her body. And it was like we felt her lift up. And when she had died, we were looking up and we felt her spirit there. And so my husband and I wrote this song about that experience, about my mother leaving her body.
Wow. Well, absolutely. I'm not sure hopefully I can handle it too, but I definitely would love to hear that. And, and again, it sounds like the message is amazing, no matter how well we portray it or get it out on this podcast. But I'm sure that people can probably hear a higher quality version, but I'd love for you to share it if you don't mind.
Here it comes again, the wonder stars, shimmering like stars inside my heart. I knew it once before, or a million times or more. I'm coming home where I belong. Music like the sea, it ebbs and flows, filling me with love that grows and grows. I feel it everywhere, feel it sparkle in the air. Music so true, I found my song. Could I begin once again? I scarcely recall where I've been. Memories are fading away. Maybe I could stay. Could I make a choice who I could be? Have a different voice, but still be me. Remember what I know, take along the glow when I start anew. Different eyes will I see, different face. Is it me? Here I go.
Wow. Wonderful. Oh man. No, thanks for sharing. Like I said, I'm certain, it was beautiful. I mean, the words are beautiful. The message is beautiful. I could see, I guess wonderful is the right word to use, right? Because that's the name of the song. But yeah, I could, knowing the story, I always loved that, hearing the story behind the song, the message. And so I'm a story song person, if you know me. So, definitely a great message there. Well, I'll tell you, I mean, whoever hears this podcast, that's definitely something that they're going to take away. Let's do this. We've talked a lot about where you are, and if I missed anything or there's anything in the next segment, we can pick up. But what I want to do is come back, and you've given us so many nuggets, so many things to think about, and we'll take a quick break, and then we'll come back. And if you can give us a couple of things, if we took away anything from the message you shared today, what would that be? And then I want to make sure that our audience knows how we can get back with you. So with that, we'll hear another snippet of Ricky Jean Wright, and It's Not the Getting There. And we'll be back with the final, what I call Land the Plane segment of Warrior versus Zombie and Nancy Daley. And we'll be right back.
Funny how wisdom and youth are always two different games. The years flew by so fast, is the common human complaint. The memories in our minds turn to diamonds in our soul, and by the grace of God on down.
All right, we're back with the final segment of Warrior versus Zombie with Nancy Daley, and I almost hate to have it come to an end. Nancy, it's been an awesome journey. I appreciate your story. I appreciate you sharing a little music with us at the end of the last segment, and you got me. So I'm ready to hear your takeaways. If we took away anything from this podcast, give the audience one or two things that you'd like us to take away, if we get anything out of this podcast.
The thing I would love everybody who's listening to this to take away is that even during a pandemic, during a horrible experience in life, during somebody who has Alzheimer's like my mother, you can out-create any situation just by living your dream and helping people. I found that, like with my mom, the Alzheimer's, how did I handle that? Just loved her and shared with her songs like this. And so the takeaway would be, live in your happy place. Be passionate about your life. Don't work in a 9-to-5 job if it makes you nuts. Don't turn on the news if it's making you crazy. Just something that happened today, David. I turned on the news, heard what was happening, and looked at my husband and said, I can't listen to this. I started to cry, went in my room, and started writing. And I said, I'm going to out-create what is happening in the world. And I started working on a new song. And 15 minutes later, I felt great. I out-created the situation by living in my happy place. And if I could say anything to help all of you out there, don't be cause over your own life. Don't be effect of things happening around you. And if sad things and terrible things happen, just say, okay, I can overcome them by talking about it, writing about it, going for a walk, going for a swim, having a fantastic meal, taking a nap with my husband. I can overcome anything and live in my happy place despite everything. And you can create your own happy life by just doing things you love to do. Yeah.
Oh, man. So that is very powerful, and I love it. You've really given new meaning to being a creative warrior in my mind. So being able to out-create the circumstance by overcoming, and it really is truly a truth that every warrior needs to understand. And most do in their own way, but maybe haven't quite thought of it the way you have. But you've taken the things that are in front of you and decided, okay, when I get stuck, when that zombie appears, you basically are overcoming it through your creative warrior. So, wow, that is beautiful.
One more.
Okay, one more.
This is great because fits in with me being a counselor. I remembered in the beginning of this pandemic, I would be crying for like 10 minutes straight. Oh my God, poor me. I don't have clients. I'm not singing live. I can't go to Villa Terrazza and have, uh, I can't have Fra Diablo and my shrimp scampi. I can't eat any of that. I miss my friends. And my husband said, do something for somebody else. He said that to me. He said, how about your friend whose husband is dying? Give her a call. She has it. You have it great next to her. Help somebody. I said, brilliant, Bob. Thank you. That's why I married this guy. I called my friend who was going through a horrible time, and we talked for a half hour. I got her laughing, and all of a sudden, I felt great. So if you're feeling miserable, go help somebody. Go do something for somebody else and watch what happens. You're going to feel great. You're going to feel positive because you helped somebody else. That to me is one of the greatest joys of life.
Awesome. I actually, when I work with clients and they've lost their job or there's something and I say, okay, so that's not a good thing, and they can't find another job or they're struggling. And I say, well, then are you volunteering anywhere? Are you doing anything? Do you know anybody you can help? And it's exactly the same thing is that, and when you do that, and I actually had, I don't have time, we don't have time, but I could tell you stories in my own life when the lowest points where I came to that realization too, that by actually helping somebody when I needed the most help actually helped me more than it helped them in the end of the day. So it's a beautiful thing. Well, that's great. You give the audience a couple of real powerful thoughts to take away here. So how do we get in touch, or how do we stay in touch with you? We've got in touch with you through this podcast, but how do we continue to be able to find you?
I was thinking about that. I think the best way is to go to my website for Be Connected, because on the website, you can see my Facebook page, you can see Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, everything is on there. And if everybody, and by the way, that is nancydaley.beconnected.com. All lower, and Be Connected is, as you said, BeeKonnected. nancydaley.beconnected.com. But if anybody wants to watch our Facebook Live concerts, they're every Thursday and Saturday night, 7 p.m.
Pacific time. Okay. Yeah. Because I'm in Central. So that would be 9 p.m. my time. But still.
And they're short, a half hour. We
beautiful.
Do original songs. My husband was on Broadway for 14 years. He performs too. We do duets. They're short and they'll help people, I think.
Well, I'm sure they will. If there's anything like that sample you shared in the last segment, that'll help a lot of people, and I think it definitely does. It is quite a ministry, quite a value that you have, that you're offering the world there, and I really appreciate that. Well, thanks, Nancy. It's been a great segment. For those of you who are just tuned in, or maybe this is the first time you heard Warrior versus Zombie, we're here every week, and we have a new warrior every week. And you can find us on wherever you found this podcast the first time, but that we're also on every other podcast platform that you can find. So if you like listening on Apple Podcasts or iHeartRadio or any Spotify, Google Podcasts, you name it, we're out there. And you can find Warrior versus Zombie. And I would also remind you, as Nancy already said, actually, our armies don't have to do a Be Connected plug here at the end, because, but you ought to join us on this platform. I think it's going to transform the way we all connect. And it's called Be Connected. That's BeeKonnect.com. And in Nancy's case, she gave you hers, or you can go My Vision Warrior when prompted, and you'll be able to join this amazing community of entrepreneurs and those of us who are going to intentionally connect to change the world. So let's hear one more segment, the final segment of It's Not the Getting There with Ricky Jean Wright, and we'll see you back at the next time with Warrior vs. Zombie.
It's not the getting there, it's the journey every day. It's not a race to see how many people know your name. One day you realize time was worth more than the gold. It's not the getting there, when you get there you'll know. One day you realize time was worth more than the gold. It's not the getting there, when you get there you'll know.